Speaking of being sensible, we talked last night about whether or not the Victorian Liberal Party, of course they have a state election coming up this year, would do a preference deal with One Nation. And the opposition leader down there, Jess Wilson, seems to have more or less ruled that out. She says preferences are up to the voter. We're not going into an alliance with One Nation. Whether or not that changes down the line, we will see. But Barnaby Joyce, of course, who defected from the Nationals to One Nation last year, has gone a bit further on that theme today. He was speaking at a business summit put on by the Australian Financial Review. And he was asked, as well as Jason Falinski, who is, about as close to a communist as you can get in the Liberal Party, former Liberal MP, both said that the Liberal Party would have to do a preference deal with One Nation if they wanted to form a government. And Barnaby Joyce has more or less threatened the coalition if they don't do such a thing. He told the summit, if the Liberals and One Nation don't do a preference deal, then the Conservative side of politics will be in their malaise forever if the Socialists, by which he means Labor and the Greens, get put above One Nation. We will go to town that there's been a desertion of the philosophical religion of the Conservative side of politics, i.e. he's saying, you do a preference deal with us or we're just going to go full scorched earth on the Liberal Party. I'm not sure that's the best negotiating tactic. Look, I agree that they probably do need to do a preference deal if either of them is to do well. But is it the best negotiating tactic to say, you do a deal or we'll do you in?
Well, definitely not. And also, if Barnaby Joyce really did care about ensuring the Conservative side of politics was as strong as possible, he wouldn't have joined One Nation. He would have stayed in the National Party and tried to turn it around.
Well, he did stay in the party and tried to turn it around to no effect.
No, that's just not... He could have stuck it out. Cory Bernardi is another example. He should have stuck it out. He should not have left when Turnbull got elected leader. Good people keep leaving the coalition, and all it does is it shifts the party further to the left because there's less resistance on the right. The answer is not to give up on the coalition, it's to stick it out and try and fix it from within. And this is the thing we saw when the DLP split from the Labor Party. It kept them out of government for 20 years. A fractured Conservative side of politics is not good for anyone. That's what he should acknowledge. A preference deal won't fix that structural reality, which is that he has contributed to the destruction of the right side of politics by leaving the National Party.
Well, certainly Angus Taylor and friends have softened their language towards One Nation. They've given up bashing them. Matt Canavan, a few weeks ago, he was on about One Nation every week. He softened his language too. Angus Taylor said today, he said, we'll show respect to those people thinking of voting for One Nation. And you love this, Caleb. Then he said, speaking of people who are going to vote One Nation, he said, they are in that position because of the thought processes they've gone through.
Oh, no, you're kidding.
What a revelation.
Wow, that's whoop.
Aside from stating the
action.
obvious, yes, they've thought about where they're going to park their vote. It's not that they're in that position. It's Angus Taylor is in this position, is it not? The position that we ought to be talking about is not the position voters are in, so much as the position the Liberals find themselves in because they went too far to the left, Freya, disenfranchised people like Barnaby Joyce, Cory Bernardi. I'm not sure why Alex Antic is still there. He's done according to your advice and stayed there. He's not seeming to have a whole lot of influence, mind you, which is maybe why he's doing drinks with Cory in South Australia.
I wouldn't read too much.
Get that rumour going again.
Have been for a long time. But I suppose the question is it the position they have been put in? I mean, as have been the voters, they've been put in a position now where, depending on what poll you read, One Nation is doing between 24 and 30%, when 9 months ago they were doing like 8 or 9%, right? So the voters have been put in a position where they feel like One Nation is their only option. But people like Barnaby Joyce feel like they have been put in a position where they don't belong in the parties to which they have belonged for such a long time. And so I understand. I've always had a view that you should dance with the one what brung you, and if you've been elected on a ticket that belongs to the Nationals or the Liberal, it is kind of traitorous to move off to another party. But it is also true that unless you're doing it like purely out of self-interest, because there are people who've simply left parties because a government needs to be formed and they've been offered a seat in a ministry. It's happened at a state level a number of times and they're just out of there like a shot because they can become a minister and get all the perks that goes with it. But if you're a Barnaby Joyce, if you genuinely feel like there's nothing left in the National Party for you to do, why would you not go to a one nation? Because you think that is the best way to maintain the conservative movement that you've spent so long fighting for, and then whether that is then something that, you know, becomes a coalition with the Liberal Party or the Nationals or whatever, surely he's done that because he thinks it's the right thing to do, which is why he's also saying this. We do need to stick together in some way, but perhaps we just do it as a few different groups.